We have another super chat from H. Refi, $2 Canadian. Thank you so much. Can speakers address cases like that in Toronto? And then they continue to say, referring to the JDL attack being mistaken for anti-Semitism. So I'm not familiar with that, but are you
Yeah,
there?
this was an attack a few weeks ago during the latest round of violence in Gaza and in Israel. There were rumors. It's really fascinating because I live downtown, and there were rumors of like anti-Semitic riots on Bathurst Street. So it's this kind of old memories from like the 1930s when there were anti-Jewish riots in Toronto. And the story was, yeah, that, you know, Jews had been attacked walking in the street. And then a few days later, it came out that it had been, and it's not quite clear to me who provoked who, but there were JDL people, Jewish Defense League. So they were looking for a fight and they got it. So that seems to be a case where people immediately leapt to pre-assumptions. And that particular incident wasn't as bad. However, I mean, there have been cases in Toronto, Montreal, all over the United States, North America, and Europe where there's been bona fide anti-Semitic violence. This is a case where it was exaggerated or provoked. But there have been plenty of bona fide cases. So this is not a made-up phenomenon. It might be exaggerated here and there, but it really is happening. And that's something that I think that just as I think people who are coming from, as it were, the quote Jewish side of the fence need to really be aware of how important it is to engage the Palestinian issue without being afraid of, like, you know, yes, people are going to say things about Palestine that are going to make many supporters of Israel uncomfortable. That's just going to happen because the reality is really uncomfortable and they need to deal with it. But also, I think people in the progressive community have to understand that anti-Semitism is out there and it's real and it's making people frightened and it needs to be condemned.
Yeah, well put. I would say it has been concerning to many on the left to see kind of the either ignoring or just straight up justifying of anti-Semitism as okay, saying, yeah, but this is just a response to Israel, kind of blaming the anti-Semitism on Israel as if that makes it okay. And I think many left-wing Jews, which is the majority of Jews living in North America, are having a hard time right now because they feel like their own communities, who are generally social justice oriented, are kind of leaving them out. So yeah, I hear that. There is
Can I jump in here for a second? Just
yeah,
I
sure.
think that's an important point, and it's not unique because we see it on the right side of the political spectrum too. People tend to either supercharge allegations of anti-Semitism or dismiss it, depending on if the person we're talking about is seen as in their community in terms of their view of Israel. So, you know, exact phenomenon give a pass to some people for things that if it had been said by somebody on the right, they would have been jumping. You know, some of the comments of Ilhan Omar were reminiscent to me of ones made by Pat Buchanan. And, you know, people were, for a variety of reasons, some good, maybe some not, were giving her the benefit of the doubt that he would never have gotten because he was perceived as from a different point of view. Likewise, I mean, we saw Netanyahu and ZOA talking about how people like Orban and others who received as friends of Israel were, you know, just wonderful people. And Orban was using classic anti-Semitic tropes of Soros in his campaigns. And you have the then Prime Minister of Israel saying he's a great guy because he's a friend of Israel, dismissing tons of anti-Semitism. And we see, you know, concerns about allegations of anti-Semitism among anti-Zionists, but the people that, you know, are making that are ignoring some of the anti-Semitism among some of the Zionists, you know, strongest supporters. So we tend to frame things in that different way. And to me, that's, again, part of the problem, why it needs to be a richer conversation as opposed to how do we weaponize it and beat up people we disagree with, and using these definitions as a tool, among others, to do that.